Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Jonnita Stanton. We have Reginald Perryman, Kashka Williams. We are TSARE, and this is the There's Something About Real Estate podcast where we talk all things real estate.
Voila.
I'm changing my name to Down Payment. Don't call me Down Payment.
Reggie Down Payment.
DP, Down Payment.
Down Payment.
Not the DP you're going to find on one of them sites, but just Down Payment. I'm going to rethink that. I'm going to stay Reggie.
Yeah, I was about to say, what does that mean exactly? Down payment. Look, so, all right. This market is crazy right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Crazy. Crazy for who, though? Our buyers?
For everybody.
Our buyers and our realtors?
You gotta ask some
It ain't
sellers.
crazy for these sellers.
When you meet with a seller and they, a lot of sellers don't understand like how long it takes to really sell a home.
Okay.
They know they sell fast, but they don't know the closing process. And some sellers are clueless, so you be like at the listing appointment. Now you have to ask them, is there a time frame that's too soon? Because some of them may be putting their homes on the market too soon.
That's true.
Because they're like, oh, we had 19 showings. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
So you really have to prepare your sellers for the amount of activity that's going on.
That's why it's crazy for everybody.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. That it's a crazy time.
Yep.
Go ahead.
All right. So we got buyers that are just fed up with the market. Some of them are like, I'm done. I'm going to go rent. But then they go and find
Don't want to do that.
for a rental. It's like, damn, I might as well qualify for a house, and a rental rate so high.
But I think that some of the fed up is just kind of like, because people can also stay where they are. People,
Right.
I'm having conversations with people where they're kind of like, nah, I mean, I'm hearing that, people are paying well more for the house than it's worth. Like, that's one that gets me because it's a few different ways to determine value. However, I get it. People are kind of like, these interest rates are really high. I mean, they're high.
Yeah.
It's high-ass interest rates. And what else is like
They
the
not
biggest?
high. They just
Exactly.
they just high low interest rates.
The
Yes,
myths.
that was sarcasm, guys, on my behalf. I'm sorry.
These are all the
High
myths
low
that we get ready to debunk.
Yeah.
Right.
What else? Just like the competing, not being able to find anything. I do think that. So there's a lot of houses. Like houses come every day.
Right.
Available. But when they come every day available, it's kind of like everybody's like now swarming to that property, right?
Yeah, because it's almost like a waiting list. So let's say one house came on the market on XYZ Street in Canton, right? And it was 13 buyers. Only one person gonna get it. So when the next house come up in the same neighborhood or nearby, those other 12 buyers all flock to that, plus the new buyers that just started searching.
Yep.
So you just keep going on. So some buyers like, I don't want to fight no more. I give up. And those buyers are pretty much fed up.
But let's debunk some of those myths that she just said,
Right.
though, right? So you're probably not paying more for the house than it's worth. You're just paying more than you thought it was worth.
No, yeah, or you paying more than what it was listed for, because value is determined by the user.
By the market.
Right?
Right.
Well, yeah, the market determines what the value is set at because the demand is there.
Right.
But ultimately, the user determines the value to them as an individual.
Yeah.
So what's valuable to me because I want to be in a certain school system, whatever you list out, I may be willing, that extra $5,000, I might be saving $3,000 on car insurance by moving over here. And
Or
I
school
might be saving
tuition.
School tuition. That's what I was about to say. School tuition
Because
is
I
a
know
big
I'm going
one.
to be paying tuition. I just was thinking about that earlier. Go ahead. I digress.
You better homeschool.
Right.
You got a bigger house, invite some more kids over for recess.
I'm not going to be able to do it if
We're going to start a new
FDK.
trend.
She got an additional house in the back that you can have class in.
Yep,
Get
them
you
old
they can,
schools.
Where the grades are all there
All the
together.
same, yeah. You got
You
the
got
first grade,
5-year-olds
first through
with
8.
10-year-olds.
Yeah.
So that's the first myth. The second myth was interest rates are high.
Yeah.
Even though they're climbing back up, Erica just posted on Facebook the other day that they getting ready to be in the 5s, right?
Yeah.
That is not high though.
Right.
Historically.
Historically, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. People are just spoiled.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I tell my clients that all the time. They be like, huh?
You know
I mean,
where-
like, you just gotta like look at the timeline. Let me break the timeline down for you.
Or just show them the interest rate history. Show them like when we was at 8%, 9%.
And we
That's
thought
the
that was
time,
good,
man.
right?
Before I got in, people was paying like 16%.
Oh my
That's
God.
crazy.
And
That's
what-
high.
Oh,
That's
Now,
real high right there.
Here's where another reason some buyers fed up. Some buyers wish they would have brought earlier.
yeah.
Because some buyers, this is what you don't want to do. So some buyers like, I'm just gonna wait until things calm down or the market values come down, right? But some buyers that started shopping in like 2019, and then they was like, oh, then when 2020 hit, everybody thought the market was gonna crash. They was like, oh, I'm gonna start buying now. But values kept going up. So now you had those same buyers, maybe they took a 6-month break, and now they're coming back looking at values, and they like, wait, what happened? They still going up. So if they would have brought in 2019,
You would hit a lick.
oh, they would have had another
Equity right now.
Yeah, they would have had equity by now. But it doesn't always go like that. But you frustrated because like I could have got in at 18 or 19.
But here's
and
the
beat this
thing.
rush.
Don't wait too much longer because the interest rates are only rising.
Right.
So you got to be careful. I mean, stop sitting on your hands.
Right.
Right.
So question, so do you think it's wise for a buyer to pull out of the market now if they still really want to buy and just wait?
Scenario. It depends on the situation. If you're renting,
Right.
like we were just talking about, because the rental rates are going to increase.
Right.
So I still feel like the renters are going to end up paying more than the buyers. So
All the time.
Yep. So I guess if you were with somebody that was buying, we talked about this on one of the previous episodes. If you were somebody that was only going to be there for a few years and you thought you was going to get in for about 3 years and then get out and sell,
Right.
maybe not, right?
Okay.
But if you're going to be there long term, I think you need to buy right now.
And stay in the game and keep fighting it out.
Yep.
And I'm getting a lot of those calls too. Oh, my rent's going up to $1,300 or $1,500, and it's like I've gotten several of those over the past like 3 or 4 days where it's just like, oh, I gotta leave. I'm not renewing my lease because the rental rate has gone up. It has increased.
Yeah, because rent, I think people don't understand as expenses and costs go up, they also go up for your landlord. So if you paying $800 a month, and you gotta understand your landlord got into this for investing.
Yep.
So even though I got tenants that been in properties for 10 years, and they like, oh, you raising a rent? Yeah, it's about time. You way behind the market. Should have did it 4 years ago. So now the tenants that are used to that, they're like, what's going on? Well, the landlord is either going to sell it because they got so much, it's so much appreciation and value, or they're looking at the landscape of the market and they like, I can get way more rent. Oh, you can't afford it? I'm going to get somebody else that can.
Yep.
So, yeah, think twice before you stop, before you pull out the purchasing game, because at least you can control your fixed expenses with the mortgage, unless your taxes and insurance go up. But it gives you a little bit, it gives you a little bit more control.
Yeah.
That screenshot. So this was I think I sent the entire, was on fortune.com.
Yep.
The housing market enters uncharted waters. And what did I screenshot? It was a borrower on a $500,000 mortgage at a 3.11% fixed rate would have to face a $2,138 monthly payment. Now, at a 4.6% rate, that soars to that monthly price soars to $2,433.
So about a $300.
Yeah, it's like
difference?
$295.
Okay.
That's an additional $106,000 over the course of 30 years.
Yeah, but the thing is, like we talked about, will that stop you from buying a house?
Yeah.
If you still qualify. Like some people, that will knock you out of that price range because debt to income ratios. But just think about the same house, what you expect to rent that house for.
Yeah, if we're talking about a $500,000, I mean, in any market, right?
Yeah.
That's
So
a nice house.
You're going to pay at least $3,500 to $4,000 a month. for that house,
For
depending
lease.
on the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably more depending on what market you in.
That's not a lot either. She said $100,000 over
30
30
years.
years is $3,000, $3,300 a year that
Right.
you paying. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's not
and that's
going-
if you
yeah.
stay there the whole
Yeah.
30 years and don't pay it off.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
But it's still gonna be. I mean, in terms of the value, I always look at like, okay, when you get ready to move on,
right,
from the property, you
Yep.
still own dirt and land that it's transferable, sellables,
Right.
all these things. But once you put that down payment down for your rent or whatever, and you stay there all that time, let's say you stay in a place for 15 years, paying $2,500 or $3,000, $2,500 to $3,000 a month.
right,
How much did you give that person over 30 years?
exactly.
And that wasn't transferable. You couldn't sell
And
it.
it's going to
You-
increase every couple
exactly.
years. So,
You
yeah,
you didn't gain any equity,
right,
any of those benefits of actual land ownership.
correct.
But there's a flip side.
yeah,
Owning a home is not just about the mortgage. It's about
That's true.
the maintenance
Yeah.
and everything as
but
well.
you're still paying that in your rent anyway.
But you're not responsible. So
Yep,
So
but
you
you're
get what
still
I'm
paying
saying?
for it.
You're paying for it, but you're
Yeah.
paying. You may be paying for that luxury to be able to leave when something goes too bad.
Yeah,
You get what I'm
or
saying?
put the responsibility.
But
But a
on
lot of
somebody
people
else.
don't want to necessarily leave their homes when something goes bad. So I don't know, like what? You have a basement or a crack in your sewer line or something like that, and
Yeah.
now
Or
you whatever. And now everything that was in your basement, especially if you had a finished basement, is gone to crap.
Yep.
So, I mean, that tenant, they're probably just looking for that landlord to come in and clean it up. But, are they actually going to leave? So they may leave if the landlord doesn't clean it up,
Right.
but they're not necessarily going to leave if it gets clean and it's taken care of properly and like all
Right.
that kind of thing. Now, if that was that person's house and they had proper insurances,
Right.
they can still get those repairs, get their basement refinished, possibly,
Right.
have upgrades because, there's still a benefit too to still
Right.
if you own a home and you have all of the proper things in place.
Or you prepared for that.
You're prepared for it.
financially-
Like I
financially
remember back
prepared.
in the 90s, my uncle. So my family is like from Oak Park. From when they left
Right.
Detroit, went to Oak Park. So he lived in a small ranch in Oak Park. Then he moved to another ranch in Oak Park, and he ended up having a fire.
Right.
And after the fire, he ended up with upgrades.
Right. 'Cause the
But you got to be
Like-
careful though. Like,
Huh?
remember we had which insurance
the
company?
insurance company.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that you got to be careful about that sewage backup because that's not necessarily covered.
Yeah, it's not always covered.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk back on about. So those are some of the benefits of owning. We talk about home ownership and the benefits all the time. So that brings up the point of buyers are frustrated in this market and they thinking about pulling out. I think the question we have to ask is why are you buying in the first place?
There it is.
Because the people that woke up and was like, oh, I think I want to buy a house.
It's cool.
It's cool. It's like the end thing to do in home ownership and generational wealth. They probably not ready for the fight. But then the
Yeah.
people that's like, I got to buy a house. We can't rent anymore. Like they made their mind up and it's like a life goal or a necessity. Then those are the people that's like, all right, we didn't get this house. We get the next one. But we going to stay in the game because we have to have a house.
Definitely.
Right?
I'm going to rent me a house.
You're going to rent
You
your house.
gonna rent
So-
your house out and then go rent another house
Yeah.
with the profit. That may be a good idea. Right? People do that all the time with their
Yeah,
rental.
people do it all the time. Yeah. Just stay in your house 2 years, avoid some capital gain tax, and then sell it.
But I think some of what you said about what's some of the first conversations that you guys have with your buyers in this market? Like, how do you prepare an individual for what they're walking into?
So
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say if it's a buyer that actually purchased a home before years ago, first thing I say is this market different. Like you not going in if the house 280 before you can offer 270 and get concessions. This is not that market. Because everybody that brought a home before or they bring their daddy or their uncle with them, they're like, oh, I only paid this for my house. And we talked them down. You think this is not that market. You can submit an offer, but when you see it's 13 other cars in the driveway when you pull up, that tells you right there. And then if they're a brand new buyer, I have to just tell them the market is not always like this, but this is what it is now.
These are the type of offers that are getting accepted
You
now.
sleep on it, you won't sleep in it.
I mean, but I think people also get it mixed up. I mean, because the sellers are harder now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the buyers think, this is I ain't going to tell you a secret, right? But, I mean, one of your strategies about with buyers, but it's a lot of people's strategy, right? Is to find the homes. So just because a home's been on the market for a minute, doesn't mean they're going to take, they're going to give a discount or take a deal less than what they're asking for. So that's what a lot of buyers are expecting. They see the houses out there for 30 days. Oh, this has been on the market for a long time.
But how you know it didn't get an offer accepted and then a deal fell through and now it's back on the market?
Because a lot of times it'll say that on the listing ticket. Back on the market.
Sometimes.
But the buyer don't see that all the time, though. The agent sees that.
Correct.
So a buyer may see, oh, this came on the market in January. Here it is, April. Well, you might have had a deal and a person was waiting on financing and it fell through after 40 days or whatever. Now it's back on the market. All the backup buyers are out of the game. So now you starting to get a new wave of buyers. You just happen to be one of them.
Correct.
Y'all all seeing the same house.
Yeah. So I lead with patience.
Yep.
That's my conversation. Hey, we have to have a conversation about patience and the amount of it that you need to have in this process.
Yep.
Because that's the first thing we have to get an understanding on. If you can't sustain for weeks.
Right. Expectations,
put
right?
in 10 offers and fail on them.
Yep.
It ain't for you.
The second conversation I have is don't fall in love with the house that you put the offer in on.
Right.
Just know it fits your criteria. Once we get past acceptance, inspection, and appraisal, then maybe you can start falling in love a little bit.
Yeah, and then I tell people offer like you really want it, right? Because I can't even count how many times somebody submitted an offer. They were the very first offer that came in, and maybe they offered like $5,000-$10,000 less. Then later that day, we get another offer for full price. So now I'm like, what do you want to do to the seller? And they like, well, let's ask for highest and best. And then later that day, I get another offer above asking. So I'm going back telling people.
Calling you at 11 o'clock. I'm going to send it.
Yeah. Now I'm like, highest and best due by Monday. The first offer that was submitted come back and be like, oh, we'll offer $10,000 over.
Should have offered that in the first place.
If you would have just offered full price at the beginning, you had a shot. But since you offered lower, you gave people enough time to get their offers in. The seller may have taken that first offer.
Wouldn't even got the other offers.
Right. So you have to discuss the pricing strategies that work, but always offer like you want it. I never try to talk a buyer into offering higher because I don't know what the value, like we talked about, the value is to them. And maybe that's just the budget they want to stick in. But if every price you see is $250, $260, and no matter what, you just want to offer less just because you want to feel like you got a deal, this probably not the market for you.
Yep. I mean, especially when you see what you're saving for in the mortgage payment for that $5,000 or $10,000 that lost you the house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's crazy.
But it does seem like, from the masses, like people are really just getting fed up with what's going on, and they may not even necessarily be currently shopping. They may just be considering shopping for a house. Like, I've been bouncing an idea around, but I've talked to this person, not necessarily a professional, but, I've talked to this person or that person I heard here. I was watching the news. I watch the news every day, which is great. It's, informative.
Like they say, whatever is worth having isn't necessarily going to come easy. So, if you really want a house, be ready to fight, like you said.
Yeah. And we got... So before, years ago, you would have a lot of tire kickers. They just out here testing the market and everything. The buyers that we got now, it's so many competitive buyers. They all pulling the trigger and making offers, highest and best. They offering more. They offering full price. They giving the seller concessions, not getting concessions.
Right.
They giving up a whole lot. So now the buyers are stronger. But you do have those other buyers that's like, oh, I'm just out here. I don't really need a house. making offers, but it's making the competition stronger.
Right.
It's like going to an auction
Those people.
and like the starting bid for whatever item it is, let's say it's $100, right? You get somebody in there that don't even care to have the item and they bid 110. Now the person that really wanted got to bid 120. Then somebody else got to bid 130. You know what I'm saying? If the person that didn't really care about it wasn't in the game, it would have reduced the value a little bit or the price.
What?
I did that one time.
Oh, yeah. People do it all the time. That's why I stopped going to the goddamn auction.
No, I really wanted the house, but I could have stopped. Like the people who actually ended up winning the bid, I'm like, man, I probably pressed that a little bit. Made them pay a little bit more than what they actually needed to.
The last house I bought at the auction, I mean, it was secluded. Yeah, for 43. It still was a great deal now. I mean, just imagine if I would have held on to it. But I probably could have got that for like 20 something. But these guys was trying to run it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things I was just like, okay, what if I'm trying to figure out like what's the shift gonna be, because I feel like we're in it. You know what I mean? Like we're in this. So we know it's shifting,
right?
But we are in a space to where I don't think any of us really know what to call it. And sometimes I wonder if the buyers are all going to gather somewhere. Like this is, and just kind of be like, you know what? I'm not doing it. Right. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
I think they can.
You're going to get one buyer that's going to sell out and be like, I'm going to make an offer.
I don't think they can. Because people need houses. So the issue is there's a shortage. That's what's causing this. You know what I'm saying? So what you going to do? How can you get together if you don't have nowhere to live? Or if your rent is $500 more than your mortgage payment, even if you're paying more than you think you should be paying for the house at the quote unquote higher interest rate, you're still paying $500 more than that in rent.
I don't think that people have all that information up front.
But that's why you got to consult with somebody.
True. I understand that. But we're talking about maybe before consultation. You have, like I said, the conversation. So, when you pick up the phone, you don't know who's on the other end. It may not be somebody that's related to you. Or you may just be getting a random call from somebody or from a referral. And, the conversation is just kind of like, I kind of just think I can just wait.
I think that the information is so readily available now.
But it's not always correct.
Not always correct, but the gist of it.
Right.
So they may not understand in its entirety why the rent. I mean, why it's cheaper to buy a house than it is to rent. Know, but they know that they've heard that enough times by now.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
So I think too, like I got to tell people this: the media is always 6 months to a year behind what's actually going on. Like when we got interviewed by the news. Like, I think that was like 2018 or something, 2018. They were like, yeah, houses selling at this and this and that. I'm like, dude, it's been like that for almost 2 years. They just didn't know it, right? They were just getting, a lot of times they like to wait for a build-up and they start hearing the general public. So then they make a story out of it. But they don't. It's always people listening to the media, and like by the time it hits the news,
too late.
You already 6 months, 8 months behind. Even like when the short sale interviews they was doing, I'm like, y'all way behind on that. So it's like, the shift is actually here. It's just we won't realize until we look back on it. We're gonna be like, dang, I did remember when we first started seeing more listings pop up all at once.
Yeah. It is a shift. And I guess that's what I'm saying, because I think we can all feel it. And then I think that people are just trying to figure out how to sustain, because that's what you have to do, right, during the shift. And that's for everybody. The people who are working in the profession, the people who are the consumers, like everybody has to try to figure out, well, how do we sustain during any shift? Right. But, sometimes we have like names for it. I don't think we have a name for this yet.
No. I think one of the things is we still haven't got all the inventory out yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's why I'm hesitant to call it a shift right now.
And the thing too, like with new construction like this, I think this past decade before, let's say before 2020, it was the least amount of new construction built, period, in the history. So like we went from like the millions or whatever to 500,000-600,000 or something. I forgot the exact number, But it was like normally you would have all them new houses coming on the market. In the meantime, you got old homes getting torn down. But we don't have that new construction inventory to absorb some of the buyers that we would have normally had. So that's the difference too. And builders now, even though they're building, but it's like they don't look at cost of everything.
That's crazy.
And can the market keep up with the cost to build?
That would be my concern. I think that's what's slowing it up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, shit, I mean, the plywood is like $65 a sheet. Like, literally.
I was about to say, he said that like somebody knew what that meant. Like,
I mean, plywood, well...
like, you have to give a base.
In layman's term, it takes a lot of plywood to go in your house. It takes a lot of wood to go in your house.
But it went up.
That went up.
Wasn't that like a $28?
That was like a $20.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what I mean.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, everything is retarded. We're doing, listen, I'm talking about within the last 3 weeks, we had a quote. We had somebody, we're doing a build out for a selfie studio in Novi, right? We had a quote for the, and this is not just wood either. This was metal studs. It was $6 a stud. It's $23 a stud now. 3 weeks later.
Wow.
So I had it. So she took, unfortunately, she couldn't move as quick as she wanted to on her build out. So now she came back. I can't honor the initial quote because it changed, right?
Yeah, she should have gave you a deposit.
Someone was I had some people on that was a concern. So it was some clients they're shopping for new construction, and one of the things was that they were kind of upset with the builder because the builder was like, this is the base.
Yep.
However, this may change because of the price of wood, basically.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the person was just like so livid about it. Like, what do they mean? It's that price. It is what it is. But it kind of goes back to that conversation.
Yep.
She was like consulting her mother, who probably hadn't bought a house in 20 years.
Or haven't bought a new construction house.
Ever.
Exactly. But, got all of the information. And I mean, just was really upset. And I was trying to explain it to her, like, well, they're telling the truth about the cost of the material and the wood to build the houses. Like, it's a real thing. So, she just expected it to be. And then these houses, you were talking about, like, these newer constructions. So, within the last couple years, subdivisions, like 2,500 square foot suburbs. Okay. And you think that it's going to be under 300,000.
It's not. Right.
But look, I heard that the Wayne County tax auction is stacked.
Yeah, I can believe it.
So
because
they
didn't do
another
foreclosures
wave
for a whole year.
Yeah. So
but you got to think
wave.
How many people actually got cash to bid, and then the way it's set up, you can bid on one house. I think the deposit is like $500 to register. But if you want to bid on multiple houses, I think you got to have 10,000. So what some people was doing, like you might have a broker or somebody that put 10,000 up and tell people, pay me, I'll let you bid under my account, right? But everybody don't have 10,000 to put up. And if you only got your eye on one house, and you competing with all these investors, like the investor competition is so heavy because at these prices, we're able to find deals, but the spreads are not as much. So you're finding off-market deals. Yeah, you find some better spreads. But it ain't like before where the investors can still go into MLS and pull a lot of inventory. So, yeah, them buyers, good luck. You know what I'm saying? You're going to find... Wherever you go to buy a house, period, it's going to be a lot of competition. That's just what the market is. And if you fed up, it's just like giving up a fight. At some point, you will win an offer. But once you pull, you don't know if the next house is the one or the next three after that. But you just got to stay in the game.
True.
Got to wait on all the inventory. Wait on all the inventory.
Or you luck up and your realtor call you and be like, hey, I got a listing. And this one is for you. I'm not even gonna put it on the market. I'm gonna bring it right to you.
That's a whole nother conversation too that I want to talk to y'all about off air because you got something else you need to say?
No, I don't.
No, we're gonna talk about that in one of our next episodes.
You got something else you need to say?
Nah.
Okay, because I'm about to wrap this show up.
You know what I'm gonna say? We gonna go old school. We're gonna say sugar is sugar, salt is salt. If you ain't learned nothing today, it ain't our fault.
All right.
All
And that's
right.
a wrap.